I came into Project S.A.R.A.H in 1997, about a year after JFS started Project S.A.R.A.H in order to address the problems of domestic abuse in the Orthodox community. So I wrote one of the early grants. It was to the state of New Jersey, and it was for $75,000, which is certainly a very nice thing. I found out 10 years later from S.A.R.A.H that, in fact, they had collected another $1 million on that grant. So it's very gratifying to know that something that you do really makes an impact on other people's lives. I always thought that I never knew anyone who had been a victim of domestic violence, but obviously, it turns out that that's really not the case. It was only a few years after I wrote that grant that I actually met someone. At that point, she was already a few years beyond when she was being abused, but for 15 years, her husband had beaten her and just done absolutely awful things. And to meet someone like that who was professionally very accomplished and smart and very together, and to realize that if someone like that could have had such a hard time pulling herself out of that, it really tells you that you need professionals, you need people who really know what they're doing.
Those of us who grew up in the Jewish community sort of learned that everything works perfectly, happiness at home, everything is great, shalom bayis, it all fits in. And then you learn that that's not quite the case. So it's so important to be engaged in an organization that recognizes that and meets those unmet needs of people who are subjects and victims of domestic abuse and violence. One of the great things about Project S.A.R.A.H is that it not only responds to the need of people who have been subjects of domestic violence, but are proactive in educating the community, young people, married people, people who are dating, educating them about the challenges of living in our very complex society and how to deal with problems that can arise in dating and in marriage when there are stresses. Educational programs are really a key component of what Project S.A.R.A.H does.
It's appropriate that we're honoring the Caspers during the month of Nisan. They are people that are not only about national redemption, their allegiance to the state of Israel, to our shul, but especially to individuals that need to be redeemed. I think one of the great strengths of Project S.A.R.A.H is the fact that we can't really talk publicly about the people that they help, because Project S.A.R.A.H looks to maintain the dignity of those women in our community who need protection. And this is really the life of the Caspers, looking out to protect people that are challenged. And bringing together the Caspers together with Project S.A.R.A.H is a wonderful example for our community, standing up for what's right, protecting the vulnerable, and hopefully seeing redemption coming to our nation.
Some people help us financially, and some people help us through giving us their skills. The Caspers did both. They are strong supporters of Project S.A.R.A.H, and Chava writing our very first grant, which helped us get the support that we need in order to do the work that we do. All our services are free of charge to victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse, and through the help of people who write grants for us and help us get grants, we are able to provide those services. We know that rabbis are often the first line of defense. When a family is in trouble, they will often go to their rabbi, and then their rabbi sometimes is able to be helpful to them, and other times really needs our guidance and help, so we can work together with rabbis, collaborate with them, and be a resource for them when cases come to them.
People often presume that in the Orthodox community, the kind of services that Project S.A.R.A.H provides are not necessary. But the issue of family abuse, spousal abuse, is a serious one within our community as well. And that's why it's so important that we have this kind of a resource like Project S.A.R.A.H. We know that the foundation of Jewish life is the family. The Masorah, from parent to child, needs a healthy environment. Project S.A.R.A.H offers those kind of resources when the family is in crisis. Chinuch and teaching is fundamental in terms of the Jewish experience, and Project S.A.R.A.H acts proactively to teach young couples, families, what are destructive relationships, how to avoid it, and to identify them. And that's an important asset for our community as well.
A woman called me. She sounded frantic and frazzled and really not knowing what to do. She would call and hang up and call and hang up. And by the third call, I had Project S.A.R.A.H Number at my fingertips, and I was able to direct her to Project S.A.R.A.H, who would be a place that she could turn to. As a Rebbitzin in the Englewood community, it was good for me to know that I had a resource to turn to. Really, these problems need to be handed over to people that know how to handle them.
We wish our Machatanim, Rabbi Menachem and S.A.R.A.H Genack, Mazel Tov on this very well-deserved honor. I know Sarah in several different capacities, and in each role she plays, she is someone who knows what is needed and she gets it done in a very quiet, unassuming way.
Of course, a major theme that runs through all of Rabbi Genack's roles is service to the community, whether as a Rav or a Rosh Yeshiva or as the head of OU Kashrus. And of course, as a Rav, he has the opportunity to support and does support organizations such as Project S.A.R.A.H and Project S.A.R.A.H itself. And it's very appropriate that the Genacks are being awarded with this award, and by accepting the award, they are helping spread the word and the mission of Project S.A.R.A.H.
Project S.A.R.A.H could not function the way we do without the help of our volunteers. Volunteers like Mandy, who step up and chair the breakfast for 4 years in a row. We knew we could depend on Mandy to do anything that needed to be done. And we need volunteers for so many different things in order for our organization to function the way it does.
Soon after I moved into Bergenfield, my friend Rivka Zouder asked me if I wanted to get involved with Project S.A.R.A.H, helping people who otherwise can't really help themselves. And you need people there to support you, and that's what Project S.A.R.A.H is. That's what they're there for. And I joined the breakfast committee as co-chair, and I met the wonderful people at Project S.A.R.A.H who really put their whole heart into this organization and just motivated me. The way that they help people is that they need to be very private about it. So it's not always easy for them to necessarily get the message out there exactly what they're doing, because the people that they're helping, they're protecting their privacy. I was happy to help get the word out there, make the organization known to as many people as possible, and just spread this type of message more in our community. I know how much they've helped me, and I know how much they help other people, that it made me committed to helping them get their message across to as many people as possible.
Mandy loves to volunteer for any organization, and she's always very giving of her time. But I think what draws her to Project S.A.R.A.H specifically is the awareness and gratitude that she has for her own happy home. And she really doesn't take that for granted. The fact that she's decided to give her time and her effort to this organization has to say something about what Project S.A.R.A.H stands for.
Prevention work comes in many, many different forms, and a lot of our work has been in response to things that we see in the community and hear in the community, and know that there's a need for prevention work in that area.
Our work that we are talking with you about this morning is the work of prevention. If we can prevent even one person from experiencing the pain and suffering of domestic violence, then all our work will be worth it.